Three of the sunscreens that I recommend in this video are all European brands. Do you want to know why? Well, let's get started. Do you buy one single sunscreen for the whole family? Or do you borrow your friend's sunscreen when you are at the pool? Well, you should know that many factors determine which is the best sunscreen for you. Factors like the type of work that you have, if it's in the office or outside, your age, if you're taking medications or not, the color of your skin, and also the type of water in which you will be swimming. All these factors determine which sunscreen you should use. When we are outside, we are exposed to different types of radiation. One is the visible light. The visible light decomposes into the different colors that we can see around, but there are other types of radiation that we cannot perceive with our eyes. This is the UV or ultraviolet radiation and the infrared radiation. The ultraviolet B radiation is responsible of causing inflammation, sunburn, and the redness of the skin when we are exposed to the sun. Whereas the UVA radiation, unfortunately, causes more permanent damages. UVA has a deeper penetration and causes DNA damage, being the responsible for premature aging and potential cancer of the skin. Unfortunately, these effects are only visible after many years that we have been exposed to this radiation. Therefore, it is important that the sunscreen that we use, we are protected against both UVB and UVA radiations. Why three of the sunscreens that I recommend in this video are all from European companies? Well, I will tell you why. The European regulations state that sunscreens are classified as cosmetics, and whereas in the United States, sunscreens are classified as drugs, OTC, or over-the-counter drugs. In Europe, being classified as cosmetics, they don't require to be tested on animals. So that's why it takes shorter clinical studies to be approved. Whereas in the United States, being classified as OTC or drugs, the American regulations require sunscreens to be tested on animals. This has created a great polemic, and unfortunately the development and approval of sunscreens in the United States has been delayed. But before I mention which are these three products that I recommend, let's see the individual characteristics that at the beginning I mentioned that determine the type of sunscreen that you should use. The use of sunscreens in children, pregnant women, and individuals with very sensitive skin is of great concern, since we need to be careful with systemic absorption. That means compounds that are absorbed through the skin and go to the internal organs of our body, and also sensitization or allergen reactions. If you're a pregnant woman, consider that the oxybenzone can be systemically absorbed through the skin and can pass through the placental barrier, and it has even been found in breast milk. So this polemic substance can cause endocrine disruptions or alterations in the endocrinology system of humans. Until this situation is clarified, I will advise or recommend that children, pregnant women, and individuals with high sensitivity skin stay away, please, from oxybenzone or benzophenone or BP3. Now, what do we recommend to this group of people? Well, two compounds, zinc oxide and titanium dioxide. These compounds are of a wide spectrum protection. They protect against UVA and UVB radiation. They have very low absorption through the skin, low levels of sensitization, and of course they also are not very allergic, especially in children. In the elderly people, we must focus not only on the prevalence of keratinocyte skin cancer, but also on an increased photosensitivity. That is a photosensitizing increment due to the possibility of taking medications that make elder people more sensible to the sun radiation. For example, some of these medications might be hydrochlorothiazide and telmisartan, both medications taken to treat the hypertension, also the atorvastatin and simvastatin, both used to control the cholesterol levels in blood, and also the so-prescribed metformin to treat diabetes 2 type. So people who are taking this medication should be aware that they may develop a photosensitizing to the sun radiation, and they should be careful. So what is the best for this group? Check for the term active photoprotection. Means that they may contain DNA photolyase, or an enzyme that has the capability of detecting damages in the DNA of skin cells and repair those damages. So enzymes like DNA photolyase or endonuclease have the capacity of restoring damaged DNA, and in this way prevent or treat skin cancer. So if you find a product that contains these enzymes besides the sunscreen, this is a great product. Traditionally, people of dark skin are more protected against radiation because they have a higher content of melanin. Melanin is more uniformly distributed in their skin, and also genetically they have a much better DNA repair process that may repair the damages caused after sun exposure. However, there might be a misperception, not because dark skinned people have this characteristic means that they should not use skin protection. No, they do need photoprotectors. People with dark skin have a higher incidence of developing pigmentary disorders such as post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation and melasma. In fact, visible light causes more damages in dark skinned people than the UVA radiation. So for this group of people, we recommend not only protection against the UV radiation, but also against visible light. That means the light that makes possible all the colors that we can perceive. Yeah, the visible light is the one that causes more damages in dark skinned people, and so the best for them is tinted sunscreens. The colored sunscreens are the ones that contain iron oxide pigments that protect them against the visible light. So probably you have seen sunscreens that are tinted with shades or have a universal color. This is ideal for dark skinned people because they will be then totally protected, and in this way they may develop less pigmentary disorders. There is evidence of higher carcinomas or keratinocyte carcinomas in outdoor workers, such as mountain guides, outdoor workers, construction workers, or employees of ski and beach resorts. So I already mentioned that UVA radiation is the responsible for skin cancer and photoaging. So this group of people require or need photoprotection against UVA especially. Another situation to consider in this group is that being outside or doing exercise, like sports people and athletes, they may also be exposed to sweat. So water resistance is also important. The water resistance levels were tested among different types of sunscreen compounds. Among the UVA screens, the most water resistant screens were the AVOBENZONE and the zinc oxide. Whereas among the UVB filters, the most water resistant were the OCTOCRYLENE, HOMOSALATE, and OCTISALATE. And talking about water resistance, the nature of water or the type of water in which we will be swimming also is a factor to consider, because it has been found that the seawater degrades or lowers the efficacy of sunscreens. This is due to the destabilizing effect of salt ions on most of the sunscreen compounds. So if you're swimming in tap water, there wouldn't be much problem. But if you are by the sea, salt water destabilizes the sunscreens. That is one of the reasons that you should be constantly applying every 30 minutes or every 40 minutes or 1 hour, because the salt destabilizes the sunscreens. So perspiration or sweat, in the same way that salt water, weakens the screens compounds. Thus, considering that this group of people may be applying sunscreen every day for a considerable period of their lives, so a minimum absorption should be considered, and compounds like the following are recommended for outdoor workers as athletes and sports people. Compounds like MEXORYL S and MEXORYL XL, TINOSORB S and TINOSORB M, and zinc oxide. Those compounds offer a great protection against UVA radiation and also offer water resistance. Now, considering the effect to the environment, unfortunately some sunscreen cause damage to the environment, especially OXYBENZONE or BP3. Yes, this compound affects the coral reefs around the world, and yes, it's the one that I mentioned that causes possible endocrine disruptions in humans and also affects coral reefs. So this compound, I guess, or I think, should be banned already. Studies have shown that people living in urban places with high levels of pollution tend to develop more wrinkles and more dark spots. Also, it has been shown that people who live in the city, or mainly that are exposed to air pollution, there is a prevalence of 2 to 3 times to develop more spots on the cheeks and on the back of the hands. That is called SENILE LENTIGO. So people who live in the cities, if you don't use a proper photoprotection, you might be potentially developing SENILE LENTIGO, which is this dark spots that you may present on the face, the scalp, or in the back of your hands. So what can we do if we live in the city? Well, in this case, antioxidants are ideal candidates to be added to sunscreens, because remember that antioxidants have the role to capture these free radicals that are caused by the pollution and cause photoaging. So antioxidants such as lycochalcone or polyphenols can be added to sunscreen, and also vitamins C and E. The latitude and altitude of the place where we might be living also affects the type or level of radiation or the intensity that we are receiving. So the sunscreens also need to be adapted accordingly. For example, the closer we go to the equator, you should know that the radiation increases, and so does the incidence of skin cancer in these countries. And whereas if we move away from the equator towards the north, countries in the northern part of the globe tend to receive less radiation because the sun is lower. Now, talking about altitude, for every 1,000 meters that we increase in altitude, there is an increase from 10 to 12% in radiation. That is why if you practice snow skiing, you should wear a photoprotection product, because also being in high places increases the amount of radiation that you are receiving. And talking about the snow, sand, and metal can reflect up to 90% of the UV radiation. So not only do we receive the direct radiation, but also the reflection from it. So one more thing to be protected. So after I randomly chose some sunscreens in the market, I carefully examined their formulation and selected those who have the best combination of chemicals to offer you a wide protection against UVA radiation and UVB radiation. Products that are stable and that have the most scientifically advanced compounds working as sunscreens. Before I mention them, I want to clarify that I do not receive any sponsorship from any company, that so my choices have no bias of any nature, and that I just chose them as a regular consumer. Number 3, ISDIN from Spain. Photoprotector ISDIN Fusion Fluid SPF 50. It contains so far one of the best compounds, the more advanced compound that protects you both against UVA and UVB radiation, that is called TINOSORB. And also ISDIN contains antioxidants in the form of vitamins E and vitamin C, and has a plus: it contains hyaluronic acid. So how can we say no to a sunscreen that is one of the most advanced compounds in Europe and Asia, and that contains vitamins E and C as antioxidants, and that has hyaluronic acid? Number 2, NIVEA Sun Protect and Sensitive SPF 50 or 60. This is a indeed very accessible product, not very expensive, and it contains not 2 or 3, but it contains 6 different compounds that work efficiently as sunscreens. 4 of these against UVB radiation, and 2 of them also against UVA radiation. Indeed, NIVEA, from German origins, it's a broad spectrum filter. Number 1, ANTHELIOS UVMUNE 400 Invisible Fluid SPF 50. Yes, this product contains not 6, but 8 different chemicals that efficiently work as sunscreen. They contain the more advanced compounds such as MCE, ECAMSULE, MEXORYL XL, created by the L'Oreal Group, and TINOSORB S and UVINOL A, among others. This is the best combination so far I could find, and is also from the laboratories in France, La ROCHE-POSAY. Now have a sunny day and enjoy it, but always protected, like me. This is a customized version of ISDIN that I found for myself. Contains ERYFOTONA, that is a compound that protects my scalp. Since I don't have hair, the radiation goes directly to my head. So this compound is a customized version of ISDIN that I use for my protection. I am wearing this for the city, for the rest of the body, arms and legs, and definitely I will wear this if I go to the beach. So enjoy your day or your vacations, but protected.